Have you ever wondered what it would be like to live every day of your life manually controlling one of your body's functions? Well, that's my reality. Today, we're going to be talking about what it's like living with type 1 diabetes. I want to share some of my experiences with it, my story, and some lessons I've taken from it as well. Back in 2017, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. It was a major shock to my life. I never expected it to happen. One day, I was getting ready to go to school. For the last 2 weeks, I noticed that I had frequent dry mouth, constant urination, super fatigued, couldn't sleep at night because I was going to the bathroom all the time. I was vomiting, bunch of different stuff. It was horrible. Silly me thought I just had a strep throat, and my dad didn't think I was being serious. He thought I just wanted the day off. But I insisted that he took me to the emergency room because I was literally falling asleep trying to do anything. So we get to the ER, we're sitting in the waiting room for an hour. I'm literally falling asleep in the chair, like dying pretty much. They finally take me in. I will never forget the words that came out of this guy's mouth. "You're a type 1 diabetic." That moment changed my life forever. He said it wasn't my fault. It's not anything I could have done to prevent it. And mind you, at the time I was 17 years old and I was pretty healthy. I mean, I'm not overweight. I'm not anything like that you would stereotype a diabetic as. And here I am getting diagnosed with it for pretty much no reason or any explanation at all. It was the scariest moment of my life because I kind of knew what diabetes was. I didn't really understand it fully, but I knew that it involves taking insulin all the time and having to count carbs and all these different things that you would never want to do in your day-to-day life. Made me realize how grateful you can be for the smallest things in your life. Like being able to eat and not have to give yourself insulin. I wish I could do that. You really don't know what life is going to hit you with sometimes. Type 1 diabetes is an immune system deficiency in which your immune system attacks your pancreas. Your pancreas is responsible for producing the insulin in your body, which allows the sugars in your bloodstream after you eat to break down into glucose. Without this primary function in your body, a lot of complications can happen. Basically, all those symptoms I mentioned earlier, like the thirst, the urination, the vomiting, all of these things are because I had so much sugar in my bloodstream that I basically went into DKA, which is diabetic ketoacidosis. When this happens, your body starts taking away the fat in your body to make some sort of energy, because if you think about it, glucose is your brain's primary source of energy, and without it, it can't really function. So it goes into this emergency mode in which it needs to break down fat in your body in order to create these acidic things called ketones. That's kind of where people see their first diagnosis, is when they have such a high blood sugar without realizing they're a diabetic, and then boom, all of it hits you at once, and then you're a diabetic and you have to be on insulin for the rest of your life. It's crazy that your body can be so complex and perfect, but also have these insanely weird deficiencies that you would never expect to happen. Why is my immune system attacking my pancreas? I wonder this every day. How stupid are you, immune system? What are you doing? Come on. Just work normally. That's all I ask. I just want to be able to eat pizza and not have to worry about how many carbs are in the pizza, you know? I pretty much live my day-to-day life now just having to be on a constant roller coaster of sugar. Sounds crazy, I know, but I go about my day meticulously counting everything I eat. I feel part of the reason I'm so big into nutrition and fitness is actually because of my diagnosis. After I got diagnosed in 2017, I ended up starting going to the gym, and that was the first time that I actually went to a gym before. And it was because I was so mad at my body that I wanted to take it out with the weights. And I was like, maybe I can reverse this if I get healthy again. But it ends up being that you can only reverse type 2 diabetes, not type 1. If you have proper diet and nutrition and exercise with type 2 and you lose enough weight, your body will actually start to reverse with a certain medication, and you can not take insulin anymore. You just take a pill or something. The main difference between the two is with type 1, your body is attacking your pancreas, so you can't produce insulin anymore. So you have to take over that primary function of giving yourself the insulin whenever you eat carbohydrates. So that's why they call it carb counting. So for example, anything that has a carb in it I need insulin for. Pretty much any food except proteins, which is meat, and greens, like vegetables. Those don't have carbs. Anything else, you'll find a carb in it for the most part. And then type 2 diabetes, I'm actually gonna look this up. So type 2 diabetes is a long-term condition that occurs when the body doesn't produce enough insulin to function properly, or the body's cells don't react to insulin. This causes glucose to stay in the blood and not be used. So that's interesting. So type 2 diabetes is when your pancreas doesn't produce enough insulin in order to break down all the sugars in your bloodstream. Type 1 diabetes is when your immune system actually attacks your pancreas. Actually, just learned something about that. And type 2 diabetes is the most common form of diabetes. It's caused from overweight, obesity, physical inactivity, insulin resistance, yada, 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 yada. That's really interesting. So yeah, I mean, I go about my day counting carbs, and there's different forms of treatment for type 1 diabetes. You're never gonna be able to cure it fully. They do have some cures working right now. I know Vertex is one of the companies, and they have like this like cure, which basically you inject like stem cells into your pancreas and it allows the insulin to start producing again. But the only issue with that is that your immune system is still going to attack it. So they one up that, and now they have something that's like a gel. I really can't explain this properly, but you can look it up if you're interested. It's some sort of like protective gel that goes around your pancreas that blocks your immune system from attacking your pancreas. And then they inject the stem cells, so pretty much instead of like having to do insulin shots every day, you would just get that one shot every year or so, and it allows your body to do its normal function without the immune system attacking it, which I think is amazing. Like it's crazy to me how people come up with this stuff. And it's also like exciting because we're getting closer and closer to a cure, and I wouldn't have to live my day-to-day life meticulously counting carbs. There's different forms of treatment for type 1 diabetes. It includes insulin therapy with like syringes, which everyone knows what a syringe is. There's insulin pens, which I can actually show you. So long-acting insulin is overnight. So think about it like it's a 24-hour insulin that stays in your body for a long period of time. And they also have short-acting insulin, which is like within 30 minutes it will take effect. So if you were only doing pen, you would pretty much use, this is called Humalog. So say I have 100 grams of carbs that I'm gonna eat right now. Usually for me, that would be about 10 units of insulin. The difference with the syringe and the pen literally just clicks. So 10 units, take this off, put the thing on, and then bop. And you do that every single time you eat. Think about it. If you have syringes, it's even worse. I've had to do that too, and it's really no fun. Lantus is what I used to do. It was like at like 10 o'clock at night. You want to do it in like fatty areas, because if you don't, you can like hit a vein and it'll actually like drop your sugars so bad. Like I've had nights where like I accidentally hit a vein and I literally just like start falling asleep, like about to fall asleep, you know, and then boop, I start sweating, I get shaky. So that's actually called hypoglycemia. When you go low, it's because you've given yourself too much insulin. The best way to describe it is that like you can't go low without insulin. And then when you go high, it's because you didn't give yourself enough insulin. So think about it like this. You eat 100 grams of carbs, you don't take any insulin at all. Basically what's gonna happen is all that sugar is gonna build up in your bloodstream and your sugars are gonna go up. Because you didn't give yourself insulin, because your pancreas isn't going to produce it. It's done. It's getting attacked. So there's also different ways of checking your blood sugar as well. So the OG way used to be like a finger pricker, which is this thing. And these things suck. I stopped using this a while ago, but I have it just in case. And you put like this in, and it's like little needles. Pretty much every time you use it, it ticks down. So like if I were to do it now, it'd go down to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, etc. And you find a spot on the side of your finger and you click it down and it makes a little bloodstream that you have to push out. Then you'd have a monitor typically with the strip in it, and the monitor would calculate what your blood sugar is at the current period, so you can adjust properly when you eat. I don't use that anymore because there's better technology for it, and thankfully I have insurance that covers the equipment I need. So right now I'm actually using a Dexcom. It's a continuous glucose monitor. I know it looks like a nicotine patch, I get that all the time, and it just sticks on and you pretty much set it up. There's like a little setup kit. How it works is like you take the adhesive off, You set it up in the app, and then it just goes right in. So there's no insulin or anything in it. It's just literally so it can watch your glucose. But the cool thing about this is that it connects to your phone. So you don't need a separate device for it. So there's just an app that I use. So Dexcom. So as you can see, this is like my sugars throughout the last 24 hours. It's like a chart, and it just always tells you your blood sugar, so I can always see it. Like, it's a click away on my phone. And it's been super helpful, makes your life a lot easier. Now, there's another one up from that as well, which is Omnipod. So they just released the Omnipod 5. The older version of this used to not communicate with Dexcom at all. It was its own separate product, and it's an insulin pump. And how these work is they have a separate device. Instead of doing the pen or a syringe, you go on the device and you input the amount of carbs that you're going to use. It says carbs right here, glucose, and then total bolus. So bolus is just like the amount of insulin it's going to give you. It's this thing, and then there's adhesive on the back, and you stick it on, and you go through the setup process, and it clicks a little thingy into your skin, and it just drips insulin continuously into your body. And then when you eat, it would give you that unit of insulin that you need for whatever you're eating. Typically, you want to do it before you eat. I gotta be honest, I'm pretty lazy with it sometimes, and I do it when I eat or a little bit after, but you shouldn't do that if you're diabetic. And yeah, I mean, it comes with a little syringe, and I've been using these to fill it because I just got off the pens. And you take the insulin from the pen, fill this up with like 150 units. It lasts about 3 days. So the cool thing is that Omnipod and Dexcom have partnered now. So these two communicate with each other. Before they didn't. So this has changed my life completely. Man, dude, my blood sugars are so much better now because of this product. Like, it took a lot of stress off my shoulders. Before, you'd have to adjust it manually and give yourself the insulin to fix your blood sugar on top of whatever you're gonna eat. Now, it does that all for you because they talk to each other. I would put in my carbs, and then I can just hit use sensor, and it'll pick up whatever my current glucose is and then add that into the calculation of what I'm gonna eat, and then it would give me a total unit. And then on top of that, say I'm not gonna eat anything for a couple hours and I miscalculated a little bit with my carbs before, if my blood sugar starts going up, it will automatically start bringing it back down again because it knows that I'm starting to rise, so it's gonna give me that amount of insulin I need to put it back to like the target area, which is amazing. You have no idea, like, it's so helpful. I've seen like significant progress since I've started using these. And like I said, like health insurance, man, dude, like, I've gone through periods of like not having health insurance, and I've almost died a couple times because like I couldn't, like, insulin is so expensive if you don't have insurance. It's ridiculous. So the fact that I got the insurance I have now, and it covers this, and it covers this, is beyond me. Like, so grateful. So grateful. Like, you don't know scary until you don't have any insulin and you have no way of getting any, and you're pretty much like dying as you sit there, like, because you need insulin. 24 hours is probably the max I could go without having any insulin in my body. Once I get over that, like, the puking starts, the DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis, starts kicking in, and you just feel like crap all the time. Some of the symptoms that like I feel when I'm high, it's like minor to that, but like I've had this for 7 years now, so like I can kind of tell when I'm going up and when I'm going down. When I start going up, I get these weird tingles in my face, like you get kind of dry mouth. You just feel like kind of gross, honestly. It's a weird feeling to describe. And then when I go low, I get very out of it in my head. Like, I feel like I can't do anything for a little bit. You get shaky, you'll start dripping sweat. No fun. So it's like living with a perfect balance of trying to be in between those two extremes and have it in the middle so you feel normal. And you typically want to feel normal. Like, without this technology, it's insane. Just every day, constant, feeling those symptoms all the time, trying to manage it, having the stress of not being able to manage it properly. Like, it's insane. Like, this disease, anyone that has it knows what I'm talking about. It's impossible to perfectly manage it. And like they put all these like complications in front of you, like, yeah, so if you don't treat this properly, you're gonna go blind, you're gonna lose some fingers, your feet, you're gonna die early, you're gonna have organ failure. Like, you'd have to be like the most OCD and meticulous person in the world if you wanted to manage this like the way that they want you to. It's insane. Everyone goes through the phase where you don't take care of it. The first 2 years I had this, I just didn't care. I was like, this shouldn't have happened to me. Why is this happening to me? There's no reason for this to happen to me. I'm not going to take care of it. F it. Like, I don't need this. And then you learn your lesson, because I ended up back in the hospital. Not immediately, but within like 6 months of just like not caring. I was in the hospital again, and it was worse the second time. Like, I had way worse symptoms the second time. Like, I almost died. It was that bad. You get super skinny because your body like eats itself away trying to make ketones. Right now you can kind of see I'm pretty healthy weight. Like, I weigh 185 right now. When I was first diagnosed, I went into the hospital at 120. I was a twig, like a literal twig. So I mean, those are the negatives of having it, but there's also some positives that come out of it as well. I try to look at the positives in things. Without any of this happening to me, I'd probably be way more lazy and undisciplined than I am now. I am super on top of things now because of this. And I have to be, because if I don't, I'm gonna like harm my body because I'm not taking care of myself. I mean, think about it. Discipline is doing what you do not want to do because it has to be done. When I was on the pens, I had to give myself insulin even though I didn't want to. Think about laying in bed and like being super comfortable and then realizing that you forgot to take your Lantus because you can't sleep without it. And then you have to get out of bed, inject yourself with a syringe, and then go back to bed again. It's horrible. Or like forgetting your insulin at your house and driving 45 minutes to a location and then realizing you don't have your insulin and you're not going to be able to stay if you don't go back and get it. So then you drive all the way back to get it and then go back again. Discipline. Because you know, like, you don't want to suffer and like you don't want to do it, but you have to do it. So it teaches you a lot of discipline. Another thing it's taught me is gratitude. I am so grateful for the smallest things in my life right now. The fact that I'm even sitting in a chair right now makes me happy. Like, because I used to just eat junk food all the time, man. Like, I just used to devour whatever was in front of me and not having to count carbs every time or injecting yourself with a syringe or putting it on an Omnipod. It's taught me a lot, so I'm super grateful for a lot of things now, which is a huge lesson that you can learn. Like, for any of you at home that don't have to do this every day, be grateful for that. You can really take the smallest things in life for granted. The third thing it taught me is nutrition. Because it forces me to count my carbs all the time, I'm now way more into like eating and cooking my own food and understanding what I'm eating. And it's come to the point now that I barely even eat out anymore because I want to be able to track what I'm eating. Now, I don't calorie track, I don't input it onto a log or anything. I used to do that, but I find that way too meticulous. Instead, I just count the carbs that I'm eating so I know, and I count the protein so I can hit my goal every day. I pretty much eat the same thing every day now because of that. I have jasmine rice, a protein, and a vegetable, and I just rotate the protein, and I also rotate the grain as well. So instead of jasmine rice, I'll have brown rice, etc. But doing that is a lot more healthy, and it's super simple too, because I can pretty much know what I'm about to eat and be able to put the carbs in before I eat it because I've eaten it a million times already. It's actually shown me a lot of like improvement in my exercise as well, which is another thing it's taught me. All of these things kind of go hand in hand and they make out for really good lessons, and I hope maybe some of you can take some of that away. Whether it be being grateful for the little things in your life or maybe even the diet part, like just like cooking your own meals could greatly value you, improve like your health, your fitness, whatever. Working out has its own list of benefits that I couldn't even describe to you right now. That's a whole separate video. There's always positives to the negatives, and overall, I think being a diabetic has made me a stronger, healthier, more resilient person. I feel like that was God just like putting something into my life that he knew I needed and having me struggle in order to become the person he wants me to become. I wanted to make this video just to kind of spread awareness of it and kind of talk to you and maybe provide you a little insight into what it's like for like type 1 diabetics. Even type 2 diabetics is That's hard as well. Like both of them are really difficult, and I feel like there's a lot of stereotype that goes around because if you look at me right now, you'd never know. Ever. I guarantee it. When I tell people that I'm a type 1 diabetic, people are shocked. They're like, what? You're so healthy. How did that happen to you? And nobody really knows. Like, you never know. But, I mean, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for listening. I know this is a long rant, but I hope that I could provide some sort of value or insight or even just some education on like what it's like living with this. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.